Civilization 2 on the PlayStation 1 being played on a PlayStation 3 with the fantastic option of having multiple virtual game cards here I can use. So I created 4 of these virtual game cards on the PlayStation 3 menu, which allows me to create multiple game saves on my hard drive, which is great because this game takes like 10 save. This game takes up like 10 save blocks on a typical 15 block memory card. So be thankful you're not playing this on a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 1. Be thankful you can actually make your own fake memory sticks. I don't remember if it was possible. I think it was possible for me to convert PlayStation 1 games to PlayStation 1 game saves to PlayStation 2 memory cards. But with the PlayStation 3, we don't need any of that crap. Potentially, I can just copy this with a USB stick onto my hard drive if I feel like doing that. I should at least set the table here. I am the queen. Where the heck is? We're trying to find a city. These are other cities located on the map. Every city that we've discovered on the map can be located here. We'll do that in a second. Where's this listed? I guess we can look at our throne room. Yeah, okay, fine. So we're not gonna do that. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. What's the point? What's the point of any of that, really? As I said, I am the queen. Queen Harriet Tubman of America, who's been in office since the year 4000 BC. We are first in most things. Third in family size. We gotta work on that. Be fruitful and multiply. Military service. Yeah, we don't have a particularly large army. Productivity. We were gonna be more productive eventually, but thankfully we have a lot of. How are we only 50? How do we only 51? I don't. Oh, productivity might be based on how many squares each person, how many shields each person in my society is creating. That's different. If you look at total productivity, where is that? Yeah. MFG goods, the fourth line from the top. Yeah, 85. So that's the number of shields we're generating. But we have a lot of people, but they don't generate shields. They're mainly just generating food. So that's a different issue entirely. Top 5 cities, we got to be 4 out of 5. Yeah, Tenochtitlan is up there with us because they built one wonder of the world. We were kind of hoarding them. If you saw the end of my previous video, we were way more advanced than our competition was, mainly because we hadn't discovered them yet. So there is that. It's like we might as well have been aliens, and like we're like Starfleet and Star Trek. We discovered like a medieval society or something on another planet. But Chino Chicholon actually built the Colossus because we didn't care. We weren't that into trade. We weren't into trade like that, and they were racing the Japanese to build it. Don't blame them. Civ score? Well, we have the 50-point barbarian deduction for easy mode because we limited the barbarians to goody huts and villages, basically. Which means that we only find barbarians if we open a goody hut and it randomly spawns a whole bunch of barbarians, which we get around by save scumming. Like I said, there's some things in Civilization now I kind of wish they never did, but I guess in a way they were kind of punishing people for kind of getting too. They wanted to have they were basically mimic treasure chests. People who remember the old Dungeons and Dragons game, yeah, there were mimics. If you got greedy and went after treasure, there's a chance the treasure would attack you because it's you know. Anyway, we don't need that. We already did the demographics. Actually, yeah, we already did the demographics. And I'll explain why my capital city has so many wonders in a second. We're not going to consult the High Council. I don't care at this point. Our military. Well, we have a couple of things we should mention here. Settlers are considered part of the military because they can attack and defend. As you can see on the left, next to the name of the settlers, you see where it says 0/11. They don't attack, but they can defend and they can move one space per turn. But the most important thing is they can attack. Actually, that's not it. Is it? Is that what 2-1 means? Let me double check that. I don't. Hold on. I keep forgetting now. Forget what I just said. Let me look up the. I'm gonna look at the chart here, part of the manual. Yeah, here we go. Settlers listed. They are. Um, attack rating of 0, but a defense rating of 1, and that makes sense. They have 2 hit points and 1 firepower point. That makes sense. Okay. So that's what the 011 means. 011 means they don't attack people, but they can defend and do 1 pip of damage as a counterattack. They move 1 space per turn. They have 2 hit points, and they have 1 firepower point. So that's what the 2/1 means. 2 hit points, 1 firepower point. So if you look at the Warriors, they're 1/1/1 for everything. So they can attack for 1 pip of damage. They have 1 hit point, etc., and so forth. The Legion are more interesting because, actually, let me go down to the Knights at the bottom of the screen there. The Knights can attack for 4 points of damage. They can defend for 2 and a counterattack. They move 2 spaces. They have 2 movement points. They have 1 hit point and 1 defense and 1 firepower point, I guess. So what would that mean specifically? They have 1 HP and 1 fire. I guess I don't know what 1 fire means in that sense. Because we have stealth bombers that are 2. We'll worry about that later. I ain't even worried about it. All right, at the bottom you have triremes. They can only carry 2 units, but they are not. They are no longer forced to hug the coast. We unlocked a ability. We unlocked a tech that allowed them to freely cross the ocean without any risk of being lost at sea. I think it might be navigation. I'll double check that. At the bottom of the screen, you see you have caravans. They ignore zones of control, which will be necessary because we have discovered one other civilization. Apparently, we've discovered the Aztecs, but I haven't talked to them yet. But I definitely discovered the Japanese, and the Japanese they've been doing sneak attacks on me, so this video could be shorter than I might want. Because I'm not trying to start a war with Japan. I know. Make all the jokes you want about Japanese sneak attacks on America, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the game normally, and if the game forces me into a war, we'll just pause it and we won't. We'll pause the video and we won't. We'll do a separate video about the war because we aren't built for war. As weird as that sounds, we aren't a sleeping giant that's gonna be awakened if Japan, stabs us in the back. We have an army that's basically a bunch of spear chuckers and well, we have again. You saw we had a couple of knights and a couple of chariots, but we're not trying to pick a fight. We could destroy Japan if we wanted. We're not trying to pick a fight with them. One of the things I did create, and I guess I should make that clear, we have a wonder of the world that allows me to for every civilization we come in contact with is forced to make peace with us as soon as we meet. And I want to say it's the Great Wall. Enemy civilizations must offer ceasefire, peace, and negotiations. Combat strength doubled against barbarians, but we're not fighting barbarians. But the most important issue is, because of our big, beautiful wall, we ran into the Japanese and they didn't immediately treat us as a minor province in the glorious Japanese Empire. Colonialism. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Press the triangle button so I can go to the map. Then I can press the square button with the cursors on the screen to go here. There are other ways to force the cursor on the screen. For instance, press L2 and R2 to switch between cities. You cycle between all the cities in your civilization. We have like at least a dozen. So when the cursor's on screen, we can press the square button to do that. You can also press L1 and R1 to switch between active units. But for now, we'll focus on the menu. Wonders of the World. I don't think it'll actually tell us what it does. Yeah, it just says who built what. So we've built basically everything, and there was a trick to that. What I can make clear here is that you see all these caravans here I mentioned in my previous video. Every time a caravan visits a city that is building a wonder, you have the choice of allowing the caravans to contribute 5 productivity shields to the construction of that wonder. So if you want to speed run the building of a wonder of the world, you can either waste like 50, 60, 70 turns building it yourself. Like down here. You can spend 48 turns doing nothing else except committing all of your resources in this city to building a wonder. Or you can have a bunch of cities set up build caravans like this, which is what we've been doing. We have a bunch of cities building caravans. As long as you have at least one supply at the bottom of the screen, the third line down where it says supplies, or the third line from the bottom where it says supplies, a pair of parentheses around a resource says that a resource has already been dedicated to a caravan. So as long as you have one resource that is supplied by your city that is not already in parentheses, it means a caravan can be dedicated to setting up a caravan of that resource. You can also apparently set up food supplies if you want to keep other cities, if you want to feed other cities, we'll worry about that later. Because we have several cities in our civilization that have more than enough food. We can feed neighboring cities that can't grow as much because they don't have enough food. And I'll mention those cities in a second later. But the more important thing is that if we commit our other cities to building a bunch of caravans, like these cities, like our capital city, Easton, our food, and I'll tell you why I renamed them a bit later. But as long as we're building caravans, caravans are a safe investment for most cities. Because if you don't need anything, they'll grow on their own. I guess here's a good example. Our food, well, our food has plenty of food. So here's a perfect example. Let me go back a bit. Okay, I got to adjust this. I'll show you why I'm adjusting this in a second because this city, no, we're not going to adjust it. It's 15. It's 15 shields away from. I guess what's 15 shields away from. Uh, so it's basically 3 turns away from. Okay, so you see on the right hand side of the row where it says 35/50. We need 50 shields to build the caravan. We're generating 7 shields per turn, so it's going to take us 3 turns to build a caravan. So the more efficient way to use this is to convert the number of shields that we're producing from 8, huh? I thought it was 7. We're doing 15, so we can lower that. Give me a second. I probably changed it recently. So I can lower the number of shields we're generating to 5, and we're going to generate 5 shields per turn. So we'll still get 3. We'll still take 3 turns to build the caravan. You'll still take 3 turns to build the caravan. We're just being more efficient about it. Because excess shields are not carried over. So that's the kind of micromanagement I'm talking about. Okay, so we can do this. That's fine. A couple of other things we can do. Check out the right side of the screen. This is probably, let me explain this in an easier way. Here's what I'll do. I'll explain the food system in a second. Because it's not made very clear by the manual. I'll try to clarify some of that here. So we have this caravan being built. I'm on a bunch of tangents, so I apologize right in advance. We're building another caravan so that this city can actually commit to supplying extra caravans that can be used as shields to be dedicated to wonders. I guess what I can also do here, we're going to focus on that because it'll still take 3 turns to build the caravan. So this is a civilization that has a lot of food. I call this city our food because you can see right there underneath its name, it's generating 19 bales of hay, which is food, 19 pips of hay or food in this city every turn. Each citizen consumes 2 food per turn. So as you can see right here on the left side, the city is a rank. The city has 7 citizens in it. It's a level 7 city, which means it's consuming 14 units of food per turn. If we go to the city, again, we had 20 here at some point. So because we were generating in the middle of the screen on the left-hand side where it says food production, because we're producing 19 pips of food per turn, we can potentially support 9, do the math, kids. What's 19 divided by 8? Okay, what's 19 divided by 2? Okay, that's too hard, Terrence. Okay, let's say we're producing 18 units of food. Divide that by 2. 9. That means we can our city can be size 9, which means we're supporting 9 citizens with all the food we can generate. Now that's a lot of people. Just without getting too complicated yet, cities have a population cap of 8 citizens until you buy certain city improvements such as aqueducts, I believe. Aqueducts allow you to grow your city beyond level 8. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on using this city. We're going to focus on having this city generate excess settlers. So this city can farm settlers because settlers require food to support as well. Since we're constantly growing, the settler who is created from the city will reduce the city's population by 1. We have 7 citizens here. If we build a settler, the city's population will drop to 7. But we can that's fine because we have plenty of food to support a settler. And we can keep growing simultaneously. So in this case, the city is just going to keep growing, going to keep generating trade. We're generating science. We're generating taxes, tax revenue. So we're self-supporting. We're self-sufficient, and we have enough excess to support other cities who aren't as well off. And what we're going to do with this city's wealth and this city's great massive supply of food, we're the California of America, I guess, is that we're going to just supply settlers for the rest of our civilization so that those settlers can develop other cities that don't have all the resources of this city here by the name of our food. There are other things you can do here. Let's say, for instance, we don't need to grow right away. So what we'll do is we can grow when we have enough food to grow, Terrence. I'll show you that in a second. We can transform this person we can take one of our squares. See above the square, see the third line down where it says people. There are 7 citizens here. Let's say we want to take one of these citizens and make them not a farmer. This square is being farmed. It's being harvested by a seafarer, I suppose. We can press this button to turn off that citizen and turn that citizen into an entertainer who generates additional luxury, which you can see on the third line up where it says tax rate 40%, luxury 0%, 2, because that entertainer is making another citizen happy. Check out above us where it says, on the left side of this row where it says people, there are 2 blue people there. There are 2 light blue people. They're happy people. Watch what happens when I activate this square. So you see what happens? This city has 1 happy citizen. There's a wonder of the world called Hanging Babylon, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, that creates a happy citizen in every city. If I transform a citizen into an entertainer, it creates an additional happy citizen. But that has its own benefits. But for now, we're going to focus on getting a bit more tax revenue. So we can transform this civilian into a revenue collector, which increases the amount of tax we collect. You can transform that same entertainer into a scientist, in this case a wizard, who generates more science per turn. Or again, like I said, you can make that person into an entertainer who can transform a dark blue content citizen into a light blue happy citizen because they're entertained. So for the purposes of this video, we'll generate some more cash. And we'll come back to that later. Now, I told you I was going to explain the food system, so let's get on with it. Let's pick a new city. Yeah, this city has a population. This is a brand new city I found. It's called Yukon. It's way out there. So this city has 1 person, 1 citizen. You can't see the food yet, so I guess I have to pick another city. Give me a second. How about Tanada? Resource. Here we go. That's a better example. Okay. The city of Tanada has only 1 citizen. So you see on the right-hand side of the screen where the food storage is located, there are several rows with 2 bales of hay. That matters because if we want to earn our second citizen, we need 2 columns with 2 bales of hay. So as you can see right here, we have pairs of hay going down the box, down the green box. So I guess in 2 turns, there'll be 2 more rows with hay on 2 more. We can fit 2 more rows of hay on the left side of the food storage box right there. Once those 2 columns are filled, a second citizen will be recruited into our city, and then the process will begin again. So what happens when your city reaches 2 people? Well, we don't have a city like that right now. So let's take Alaska here as an example. This city has 3 civilians, 3 citizens. So you see right here we have 3 civilians. If we want to recruit a 4th civilian, you see we have the 4 bales of hay per row. So we'll just keep adding more bales of hay. We'll keep adding rows of 4. And once all 4 columns have been filled down to the bottom of the green box, then the 4th citizen can be recruited. The number of bales of hay we generate per turn in the food storage is based on the surplus. Below that green box at the right side of the screen where it says surplus 4, that means we are generating 4 bales of hay every turn, which means we're adding a row to the bottom of that green food storage box every turn. You can reduce it if you want. If you want to reduce your surplus to 2, then we'll only generate 2 bales of hay in the bottom row right there. So it will take longer for us to grow. That might be advantageous because if your city grows too fast, you got to micromanage it. It's more likely to generate an unhappy citizen, which, as I've mentioned in my previous video, the 5th citizen you recruit is always unhappy. Here's an example. We'll go to the happiness meter for Cumberland, which has 5 citizens. The 5th citizen is unhappy. So as you can see, in our current civilization, I want to say at this difficulty level, with this system of government, the first 4 citizens of your city are content with this system of government that we have, because we're a monarchy. We stand Queen Tubman. But the 5th citizen your city recruits is not going to be happy. So if your city has more red unhappy citizens than light blue happy citizens, your city falls into disorder. There is a city nearby, I think, where that's the case. I think it's ceased. Ceased, like yeast. Don't worry about the name. Happiness. Perfect example. Okay, here's a city. See the top line where it says no change? Well, under the happiness analysis payoffs, you see the 4 content citizens. The first 4 citizens are always content, but 2 of the citizens are not content. So our 5th citizen is unhappy, as is our 6th. So the 2 newest citizens, the 5th and the 6th, are always unhappy with this system of government we have in this game at this difficulty level. One way to pacify them one way to deal with that is to, like I said, you have martial law. You saw that in the previous city of Cumberland. We have a wonder, for instance, that adds a happy citizen to every city in our civilization. It's the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I'll show you that later if we have to. So that counteracts the effect of having 1 angry citizen. And I guess we'll do that by going to Cumberland. So I'll clarify that. So here in Cumberland, we have 1 unhappy citizen in Cumberland. It's our 5th citizen. The new guy is not happy. But because we have a happy citizen, then the balance isn't thrown off. So you're allowed to have an unhappy citizen as long as they are equal to or outnumbered by happy citizens. In this case, the light blue citizen here. Counteracts or balances out the effect of the 1 unhappy citizen we have in Cumberland. By comparison, in Ceased, which is a slightly larger city because it has 1 extra citizen, the 2nd new citizen is unhappy. And the 1 happy citizen we have can't counterbalance the 2 unhappy citizens we have. There are ways around that. For example, we have martial law. So I can show you that right there. So here we go. So we have martial law in Ceased. So one of the soldiers is basically a cop, I suppose. It takes that 1 unhappy citizen, it takes the 5th unhappy citizen, and makes them content. I guess the way the mechanics work is that a military unit transforms an unhappy citizen into a content citizen. I guess because they don't like soldiers being away from home. I forget. I think that's how it works in this game. They want to bring their soldiers home, so they're less unhappy if they bring a soldier home. So in this city, we've avoided anarchy by balancing out the two unhappy citizens we have here. One is balanced out by the soldier. The second unhappy citizen is balanced out by the happy citizen. So they cancel each other out. Should probably mention this. We're currently in the process of building a temple. Where's that listed here? Yeah. So there we go. So we're building a temple. We're generating all 10 shields from the city towards the building of a temple. So at the end of the turn, the temple will help us. And I guess I can show you a city that already has one. What's a city that already has one? Here's one. The city of Neck. We're going to rename that city, by the way. The city of Neck already has a temple. Temples have the effect of transforming two unhappy citizens into content citizens. So right off the bat, this city doesn't need martial law because we have a temple that we're paying for that serves the same purpose. It's even better. It's even better than a soldier because it makes two citizens content. In a monarchy, one military unit makes one unhappy citizen content. A temple serves the same purpose. It pacifies the populace in this case. But here, what it's doing is it's just pacifying or making two unhappy citizens content. We also have a wonder of the world that does the same thing. Yeah, I guess, can I make that clear? Yeah, I have to go to the map. Give me a second. Wonders of the world. Whoop, go back. I guess I can show you that. We have Wonder of the World. You can't see it here. At the bottom of the screen, second line up, it's the Oracle. The Oracle has the effect of doubling the effect of all temples, which means that if we have a temple in a city that pacifies two unhappy people, the Oracle doubles that effect so that every temple now pacifies four unhappy people, which is amazing because at this difficulty level, if you want your cities to grow, you have to keep your citizens happy. One way to do it is to provide temples. Cathedrals do the same thing later in the game once we learn cathedrals. There's a civilization, there's a scientific advancement that allows us to build temples. Colosseums do the same thing, I want to say. And there's one other thing. Where's that listed? Yeah. Oracles serve that purpose of doubling the effect of temples. And temples are cheap. They only cost 1 gold per turn. So if you want to keep your city sustainable, building an oracle helps a lot. Doubles the effect of all your temples. Fantastic. That's a couple of other things I want to clarify. So I at least wanted to show you that. By the way, why are 4 of the world's 5 wonders of the world in our capital city? As I said, we dedicated our infrastructure program is based on generating or creating caravans. Those caravans, again, are set from all over our civilization. Every city, or most of our cities, I'd say at least half of them, are building caravans because, like I said, they're safe. If you don't have anything else to build, caravans work because they're free. You can pay for them to speed up production. But the most important thing about caravans is that they're portable productivity. They're a way to build wonders more quickly without costing your city anything except for time. You're investing resources in building these caravans, and they basically serve as explorers because you can you'll see one of our caravans exploring Japan, wandering around central Japan, visiting the capital, just to kind of map it for us. But it also serves the purpose of making it easier for us to build wonders in like 1 turn or 2, which is why I'm hoarding a bunch of these. We're surrounding our capital city with caravans, so at some point at some point our capital city is going to be ready to build a wonder of the world, so we can just have all of these caravans enter the city and help build the wonder all at once. And I think I did this at the end of my previous video, or in my previous video. We just built the Oracle or the Great Wall, I want to say, in one turn because we just had a bunch of caravans surrounding their capital city and they were ready to pounce when the time came for us to build it. So we'll probably end the video by doing that. I guess I should show you all these cities. I should show you the map. Press the triangle button. Again, kind of hard to see this map. The white cursor is incredibly difficult to see. They're using every pixel in this pixel grid to make this cursor work. And it's not even square. Some of the pixels are square and some of them are rectangular. I'm also playing on a flat screen, so it might look different on a flat. It might look different on my cathode ray tube TV in the other room. But here in the center, the pixel grid's a little bit different. But this is how we move around the map. You can barely see these light blue squares. They're cities. That's Canada. There's a city over here I want to say I found. Is this Alaska? This is Yukon. Okay, we'll rename the cities later. But again, these were goody huts. These were villages. We call them goody huts in the Civ community. Because when you uncover them, when a military unit lands on that space with a goody hut, they'll get gold or they'll unleash a horde of barbarians. And both of those are actually kind of lame. Or they're very bad in the case of barbarians. Because basically every land square around the goody hut spawns a barbarian in that case. So if you reach a goody hut here in the end of a peninsula, it's not so bad. It would spawn 2 barbarians, one here and one here. But if you're in like the middle, if you're like here and not here in Canada, if you're like here in Tor, every square surrounding the city would have been surrounded by barbarians. If that were a barbarian goody hut. But there's also the chance you can find a skilled mercenary, which means a military unit can be found in the goody huts. That military unit will then become supported by the nearest city. I want to say that's what happened here. Or possibly. In other words, when you open a goody hut, when you reach a goody hut and it spawns a military unit, that military unit is supported by the nearest city. If you unlock a goody hut and there's a settler inside of it, which is very nice, the settler is not supported at all. So it's a free settler that doesn't require food. It's a wandering nomad. So basically, these are very good to have because you start the game with 2 free settlers, but you need one of them to build a city, so whatever. But if you find more settlers inside those goody huts, they're free soldiers. Never use them to build a city. At least I wouldn't. Because these free settlers can be used for the rest of the game to just make your civilization, they can develop your infrastructure, and it doesn't cost the city anything to support them. So these are free nomads. They don't need to be supported with food or with production shields from any city. If a city builds a settler, and there are several we have wandering around the map, like Easton here, yeah, this settler was created by the city of Easton right here, the city of Sheena Easton. This particular settler is supported by the city, which means they have to contribute food and shields potentially to this unit. See, we're supporting Easton, so that means. Remember, each city can support 3 military units for free. The caravans don't count. So this city is currently supporting 2 military units. This soldier who's staying put and this settler. The settler is also supported by food. So we have 15, what is it? 15, we're generating 15 food per turn. 5 citizens are eating 10 food per turn. I want to say the settler is stealing 1. Let me check on that. Five. Yes, I think the settler's only stealing 1 food per turn in that case. But yeah, I guess I can explain it. Under this system of government, I want to say in the monarchy, I want to say the settler is eating 1 pip of food per turn. But that's okay. We can support that. So that's the difference between a regular settler that's created by a city and a settler and that's supported by a city, and a settler that's a wandering nomad that was found in a goody hut that has no support city, has no home city. The third line in that box has none. That means it's free. No one has to worry about supporting it at all. So we can use it. We can use it to build roads, mines, that kind of thing. But we will not use it to. We will not use it to build a city because building a city removes it from the map. So we're not going to do that. Also in Goody Huts, you can find scrolls of ancient wisdom. They are scientific advances. Most of the scientific advancements that we don't like chivalry, feudalism, all the military advances we found inside of Goody Huts. So if you, let's say for instance, I'm researching bridge building right there. It's the third line from the top of the screen. We're researching bridge building. So all that white and blue line underneath that is it's just the game is just stacking a whole bunch of um, beakers. Don't worry about it. Just know. Don't worry about counting them. Just know. In fact, it'd be nice if the game told you how many beakers you need to learn something. The game does not make that clear. I want to say the PC version doesn't either. But in the PC version, it takes a certain number of beakers to learn a scientific advancement, like civilization advancement. So bridge building is right here. It should say. It does not say. Yeah, it does not say how many beakers it takes to learn a new scientific advancement. That's interesting. Odd decision to leave that out. But the idea is that, like I said, once you generate enough beakers, then you will discover bridge building. And of course, more advanced technologies require more beakers before you learn them. Again, the stuff you don't want to learn, like chivalry, horseback riding, feudalism, like I don't really care about that. I'm glad I have it, but it was like warrior code, like who cares? But the idea is that if you open a goody hut and you discover that inside of a hut, you automatically have it. Uh, Hilariously, I mentioned on Facebook about a decade ago, I was playing as Japan, and we discovered atomic theory in a goody hut in the middle of a jungle. Hilarious. Uh, just so you know, if you're in the middle of researching something like this, and then you open a goody hut, and then you find the secret of bridge building, like if you find the secret of bridge building inside of a goody hut, then the game simply just automatically gives you the advance, and then you just so in other words, you're just learning. You've basically skipped ahead. So in other words, you don't have to invest any more scientific beakers in learning this because you've automatically learned it. So you just skip ahead to the next research project more quickly. That's fine too. And I would argue the best thing you can uncover is a new city, like this one. Again, you don't because cities require settlers to be created usually by other cities. You have to actually build settlers, which reduce the size of your city. Then you have to haul them to an empty spot on the map. Then you have to have them build the city, which removes them from the map. So it's a whole series of steps. Whereas if you're like me, half the cities I found, half the cities I have on this map were just discovered. Like Alaska, like let me put it this way. Every city outside of our main island here, our capital island right here, every city except for CW Food, Quest Food, I don't know. This city right here was discovered. Every other city here, these two cities were built. We built and canal. So I want to say both canal cities were built. So we had our food here, then we decided to go up here and build this canal that connected these two island mats. It probably didn't matter that much. But I wanted some canals. I wanted my ships to be able to pass through a lot of these islands more quickly. Easton was discovered. Like, in fact, I want to say Easton was discovered. Yes, we do have a couple of canals. I thought. Let's check. I know I built that city because I wanted at least one canal city, and I did. Yeah, the other ones like West Virginia, Buffalo. Yeah, these other cities were just discovered. So basically, the way it worked was what happened was we have our capital city here. We discovered this city. We built this. We built Cumberland. We built Seast. We built Ann Canal. But we discovered every other city you see here. We just opened a goody hut and it was just there. So if 4/5, darn near 5/6 of all your cities were discovered by opening goody huts, that means you're able to invest a whole lot of resources in developing those cities for free, basically. You aren't, again, we have settlers and they're being used to develop the cities we've discovered, but because we don't have to invest a bunch of time in building settlers and supporting them and transporting them to an empty spot on the map so that they can create a new city, we just discovered all these cities. We discovered almost every city in our civilization. Every city here is just a tribe that agreed to join us, and then we didn't need to take them over or anything. But what do they call it? Rex, rapid expansion. Very normal for Civilization 2 and Civilization 3 and 4, but definitely Civilization 2. Yeah, it's part of the meta of Civilization games. Apparently, is your ability to expand rapidly and do Zerg rushes. But that's a bit too geeky. We're not going to talk about Zerg rushes. Not in this video. Is there anything else I need? I've been again. This has been sort of me just sort of mentioning all these places on the map I've discovered so far. So again, we have our capital city down here. We have the A island here, which has Ann Canal here. In fact, I can just show you this on the map. So it's our capital city. We have our A island here, which will probably end up being the new capital because we're so spread out. We need a new capital. Actually, we'll probably be over here. Because I want this to be the population center of our civilization until we become communists. Because we are going to become communists at some point. Because like I said, if we have a lot of cities and they're spread out over a large area, in this game, that's an argument for communism. Because it cuts down on corruption, which is very, very, very unmanageable in a monarchy. There's a whole lot of corruption in a monarchy. It's not as bad as a despotism. It's not as bad as despotism. But monarchies are for smaller civilizations that are just starting to grow. Once your civilization is as big as ours, with like a dozen cities or more, then yeah, you're gonna want some communism. I think our republics. Communism has no corruption, which is hilarious. But there's no corruption under communism in this game. But obviously your trade is limited. I think there are a couple of other things. But in this game, communism is a completely viable system of government. And if your civilization is large, it's arguably kind of favorable. Let's see. East by this is an apolitical video about civilization. Okay. So I showed you the capital island. We have the A island up here, which will support at least a couple more cities. So that's definitely worth it. We have Neck right here, which will support a couple more cities in the east and west. So we can set up our golden triangle here. Easton can be like sort of a satellite city. That's fine. We can expand out here eventually. There's plenty of room out here. Again, it's mainly a matter of moving our capital to a place where it's more favorable to do so. And again, if we need to build a capital quickly, there's a trick that I can show you. For example, say you want to make the capital here in Neck. Let me pick a city that doesn't have anything. I showed you this trick in the previous video. I showed you this trick. Where's the city? Here's a city I just started out. West Virginia out here, out in the middle of nowhere. We're island hopping. They just started building a trireme because as you can see right here, they have third line up where it says supplies. All three of our resources are currently dedicated to caravans, so we can't build any more. Well, we can build more trade routes, but all they can handle is food supplies. And we're not going to worry about that right now. We're not doing that kind of micromanagement in this game. We'll do it later if we have to, but we're not going to worry about it now. Let's see. I spent nearly an hour rambling. I haven't advanced at all. But again, I did a whole bunch of gameplay without recording commentary. So I at least want to catch you up a little bit. So we have West Virginia here. Let's say we want to build. Well, I don't know. Let's say you want to move the canal to West Virginia, where you could buy it. Well, If you want to, actually, we have to switch first. The cost to complete the trireme is 320. Complete it? No, never mind. So if you want to instantly create a unit, you can buy it. You can empty your treasury and buy it. We're not going to do that. Change. Let's say we want to build a palace. We're going to move the capital here. If you want to buy it, cheap. We're not going to do that. So instead of buying something expensive, if you want to speed up production, a palace costs 400 gold. What if you build a barracks instead? It will only cost 160 gold to complete the barracks. Barracks, just so you know, require fewer shields. Barracks only require 40 shields to build. So if you're willing to spend $160, or in this case, you're willing to spend $4 per shield, I guess. You can 4 gold per shield. You can speed up the production of the palace by buying the barracks, by buying the shields from the barracks at a discount, and then switching to the palace for the remainder of the turn. So you're skipping ahead 5, 6, 7 turns so that you can build something more quickly. Normally it would take 5 turns to generate with 40 shields. Normally it would take 5 turns to generate 40 shields with the 9 that our city generates. It would take us 5 turns to generate that much. But if you're willing to spend $160, you can speed it up. We're not going to do that. I just wanted to show you that trick because I after 20 years of playing this game, after 30 years of playing this game, I discovered that yes, you can speed up production without completing it by buying a less expensive building, switching to a more expensive building, and buying basically. Like if I want to speed up production on this trireme, I could buy a pikeman. I can buy a pikeman. Switch production to a trireme after buying the pikeman before the turn ends, so that I then convert all those shields that were invested in the pikeman. I convert all those shields into a trireme production, and it's free because you're allowed to switch. Remember, I mentioned this in the last video. You're allowed to switch between types. If you switch between a pikeman, a knight, and a trireme, there is no production penalty for that. If you switch between a soldier and a building or a wonder of the world, there is a 50% production penalty, which I can show you in a second. Like right here, we've already started to build a caravan. Let's say I change my mind, I want to build the Leonardo's workshop instead. That's the production penalty. When you switch between items of different types, then there's a production penalty. We're not going to do that. So again, micromanaging crap. So we have those cities laid out here. We have cities named R Food, CW Food. Those cities are named so that I know that they generate a lot of food. So I know that if I need more settlers, I can generate them here. And that also tells me that if these cities need to be managed because they generate so much food, it means that they're going to hit the level cap. This city right here, CW Food, is already at the level cap. Remember, no city in this game can support more than 8 citizens until you build aqueducts, which we don't have yet. Yeah, there we do have an aqueduct. There we go. We do have an aqueduct. So that's how your city grows beyond level 8. The mechanic is explained by saying your people are thirsty. We need more water, so that's why you build an aqueduct. That, I believe, is mentioned here under Civilopedia City Improvements. Let's see. Allows a city to increase beyond size 8. It costs money to maintain per turn. It costs 2 gold per turn. Again, city improvements start to cost money. City improvements cost money to maintain. So maintaining a civilization should be based arguably on how much money you're generating by committing to those improvements. So we can build an aqueduct. We're going to focus on building settlers here instead. Because remember, every settler reduces the size of your city by 1 citizen. That's good. At least as far as it's how you manage your city's population. You've also reduced the surplus. You see right there on the right side of the screen below the green box. We reduced the surplus to 4. We can reduce it even more by just turning people off. So we're generating, what is it, 4 taxes, 4 tax rates. We're generating 4 gold per turn and 5 science per turn. If you want to change that balance, you can turn someone off, make them a tax collector, and we're generating 6 gold per turn instead of 5. By the way, something you probably noticed this. We're not generating a whole bunch of shields here. The second line from the bottom where it says shields, 4. Why? Check out this map. Only 4 of these spaces generate productivity shields. That's fine if you're, but that's the thing about the city. The city is not productive in the sense that it can produce anything as far as like shields, but it is extremely productive in terms of food generation. So basically, it's like I guess it's like Kansas. It's like North. It's like Montana. Not a whole lot of. How do I describe this? Imagine a place that generates a whole bunch of food, but doesn't like have any mining or no industrial base. It's just farming, which is fine. We have all the food in the world here. We just can't build anything. So what you could do is you can just, you can flatten out your population. That's perfectly fine. If we can flatten out the population here, like we have plenty of food. So if you just want to turn this city into a gold generating joint, you can. See? Right here, we're generating 8 gold per turn out of the city. You can also convert some of these people into scientists. So if you want to generate more science per turn, you can choose that instead. To my knowledge, you cannot buy a scientific advancement, a civilization advancement, but what you can do is you can buy libraries. Sure, you can build libraries. You can convert citizens into scientists who help you learn things more quickly. And at some point, that's arguably more important than money. We're just building up a fat treasury at this point, so I'm not complaining. So you can do things like this to micromanage your civilization to keep it more manageable while you build to keep the population, because remember, your population just can't grow at this point. So if you're not doing, so instead of generating trade, you can trade, which could be corrupt. You can just micromanage your civilization like this. So now we have no food. So now we have no surplus, but we're capping out our city's population size. I should also mention there's a white line in the middle of that green bar. That's in our food storage. That's called a granary line. And that granary exists because we have a wonder of the world called the pyramids. We have the pyramids. Yep, we got the pyramids, right? Third line from the top. We built the pyramids. The pyramids count as a granary in every city, which means your cities grow twice as fast. Let's see. Like I said, so once the food storage reaches that line in the middle, you get a new citizen. That's awesome. So instead of waiting for the entire green box to grow, it only has to grow to that white line, which is halfway down. That is mentioned here, the pyramids. It's usually a pretty useful civilization advance. Counts as a granary in every one of your cities, so it's going to be useful throughout the game, which means you can expand more quickly and build more cities. So I would argue it's universally helpful for most gameplay styles. If you want to start focusing on building large militaries in this game, I would argue having a large number of cities helps, because the more cities you have, the more different kinds of things your civilization can build. And like I said, having more cities means you can generate more caravans, which means you can, like I said, store productivity in the form of these caravans, which can then be used to build wonders incredibly quickly. So and of course, like I said, having a large number of cities means you can support more military units on your map. It means you can support more triremes on your map, so you can move around more quickly. So in that, I would argue that having more cities is helpful because it means you can produce more things if you need to. You don't just if every city is a money farm, having more money farms is good in this game. There's probably an alternate play style where you have like a small civilization with fewer cities, and you just kind of perfect them. But the way I play, I just have like a lot of cities, and I just keep building more. And if I have to shrink, if I have to make my big cities smaller so that I can develop more settlers, so that they can build a bunch of smaller cities, that's fine. A city is arguably more productive than a civilian. A city is more productive than a single citizen. A city is going to generate more. I would argue a city generates more trade than a tax generates more trade than a single citizen in a big city. So I would rather have two. I would rather have three small cities than one mega city in this game. It gives me more flexibility. At least the way I play. There's another way to think about it, and I might do a separate video where I explain the difference. Okay, so I explained all of that. We're gonna end the video pretty shortly. But I want at least spend an hour sort of catching you up on all the videos I did not make. I'm trying to make this playlist a bit more compressed by not showing you every tedious move that I make, but kind of showing my grand strategy in this 4X grand strategy game. So we have these cities. We're gonna build up these cities near the coast. But again, we're literally around the world. So I would argue we should build a city near our we should build a capital near our population center, which will probably be closer to Neck right here. But again, that means the cities on the other side of the map are going to be kind of left behind, but we're not going to develop them. They're just satellite cities that we discovered. So they're like Guam or the Marshall Islands or Samoa. They are far flung, but we aren't going to develop them that much. Later, but not now. There are a couple of continents we're going to try and develop if we can. So we have these cities. This will be our capital core right here. There's another city over here, but it's kind of way out there. There's an argument to be made that we should probably build out in that direction. But there's not a lot of, this is just ocean. There's not a lot of incentive to build out here, if I'm being honest. We have Alaska up here. Huh. You could build north of Neck. So we have Alaska out here. We probably need to rename it. But yeah, this is where the Japanese are. Yeah, this is where Japan is. So arguably we don't have to build out here. We can just focus on A out here. But if this is Japan, then we have to mark it accordingly. So I can rename Alaska if I have to. I just want to kind of generalize where it is. So what will we call this? Because we already confirmed Alaska, so we can rename this. So it's not Japan, but it's near Japan. So we can call it Jalaska, I guess. Because we're just establishing that it's near Japan. Japaska. Which is fine. If Japan ever took over the Aleutians, which I think they were trying to at some point in World War II, but anyway. Let's see. So that's near Japan. And that's the soldier is probably going to try and attack us. Again, because we have the Great Wall, they had to make peace with us. We might have to. But if they're going to do a sneak attack, then what's the point of diplomacy at this point? Let me check on something. We're neutral. They weren't. We tried to trade maps. They weren't interested. We can give them a few gifts if we have to. I'm not opposed to that. Can't promise that's not gonna. Can't promise I won't stop another sneak attack, another Pearl Harbor situation. But we'll see how it goes. So I already talked about that. Advisors. Yeah, the attitude advisor. So you can see, like I said, this is how we keep an eye on the cities that are getting too unwieldy. The cities that are too large to support. It's like I said, if you want to see what cities are close to level 8, that's a quick way to find out. Which cities have a bunch of red citizens, like Seast and Cumberland. You can keep your eye on them. So it's just a quick way of seeing where all the red unhappy citizens are. Advisors, attitude advisor. Yeah, we already did that. Sorry. Trade advisor. So our civilization costs 13 gold per turn because we have 8 temples, again, to pacify the civilians, and 5 courthouses to keep corruption down in our frontier cities, the ones out in the middle of the ocean. We're generating 39 income per turn, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen. Generating 42 science per turn. So that's cool. The problem is, like I said, the game does not make obvious how many science beakers you need to learn the next scientific advancement. It just shows a big blue and white line. I guess we're just supposed to guess. Okay, I guess we're 2/3 of the way there. So I guess once we reach the right side of the screen, we've discovered something new. I don't know. It doesn't make it very clear. And you can select each scientific advancement if you want to see what you got out of it and what it led to. Again, I have a chart here. I have the game included a manual, which is useful but not great. The manual is very small compared to the PC game had like an 89, not 80, 90 page manual, and it was like what, it was half size. The pages were like 5 by 7, so it was I would say it was half the size of a regular sheet of paper, but it was bound so it could fit inside a regular computer box, which I don't think I have anymore. But I want to say I still have the Civilization manual, obviously. And I think I still have the chart that came with it, but I definitely do not have the box anymore. Pretty sure I sold that or trashed it at some point. Because I bought the game in the late 90s, like 97, I'd say. The PC version, which I will play on this channel eventually in a real video. Let's see. Sid Meier's Civilization 2. Advances chart with terrain and unit specifications. So one side shows the Civilization Advances chart, which is pretty handy. It's not very big. It's about what? It's 8.5 by 11, I'd say, folded to thirds. That's it. It's about 8.5 by 11. And the other side has the units and the terrain information. So if you want to know the number of shields that a forest tile generates, it's here on the chart. It also shows the defensive bonuses, the result of irrigation and mining, the effect of roads. What does the asterisk say? Roads reduce the movement cost of any terrain type. Yeah, sure. Engineer transformation. It also shows the special resources like buffalo and fruit and oil, oil D, as opposed to oil G. Okay, so there's oil on the desert and there's oil in the glacier. Okay. All right, that makes sense. You can transform it. You can transform oil in the desert to wheat. You can transform oil in the desert to furs. That's hilarious. And of course, it shows the breakdown of all the military units as well. Okay, sorry I made you sit through that. So that's probably most of what I need to tell you for this video. Like I said, we'll sort of skip ahead. So I can show you all my units here. Unit roster. So it shows all the units who've already moved. It doesn't say where they are. It only shows what city supports them. In the PC version, I want to say every unit had coordinates. So if you wanted to jump ahead to see it, you can see where it is on the map. You can see where it is relative. You can see where it is basically based on the coordinates. But if you wanted to just see it on the screen, you would click on this, and it would show you right where that unit is. But in the PC version, you had coordinates that at least showed you where generally it was on the map specifically without having to look at it on the screen. So if you knew the coordinates of your map, then you could just look at that unit screen and say, okay, this is on this side of the world, and this unit's on that side of the world, just based on the coordinates, which are not available here. So that's unfortunate. Yes, guy's already moved. That's okay. So we're gonna send this guy over to. Yeah, we're gonna have this unit here from Neck. Actually, how is Neck? We're gonna have him irrigate that grassland square over there. How are we on settlers? We'll see. You can see right here, we're generating 18 food per turn. See right there below this map screen on the left-hand side, it says food production. So we can generate, remember, 18 production. That means we can support every citizen eats 2 units of food. That means we can support up to 9 citizens in this city. So we can rename it. Rename. The name was the placeholder anyway. So we can call it new food. I don't care. Nay food. N food. Whatever, as long as we know it's food. So the idea is we know this city is generating a lot of food, so we can support a lot of settlers, which is what it's doing, supporting 1 settler right now. And we'll worry about the other cities later. So we'll send this soldier, this nomad over here to develop that square. We have some caravans here who need to get back to the mainland, and we have a roving ship nearby. Yeah, right there. So we want this to be a ferry between our capital island and the nearby islands here, but it's not very efficient. So we're going to need another trireme eventually. We'll get around to that. And we have a soldier here who's keeping the peace, I want to say. Happiness. Okay, he's not needed anymore. Yeah, so we had 4 unhappy citizens and we had 4 unhappy citizens in the temple combined with the oracle to take care of them all. So we can move them back to Ann Canal if we need to. Let me see how Ann Canal looks because he was here. Ann Canal should be fine. Yeah, so we had 2 unhappy citizens. The temple and the oracle will take care of them. So we're going to keep this guy here to keep the peace here in our food, just in case. Happiness. Yeah, so that's fine. We don't even need the soldier in it, so we can move him around if we need to. But for now, we'll stay here on this island. And man, this soldier will basically pacify citizens on this island for now. So we'll send him out. We'll send him after the ship. And this caravan needs to get to the ship too, so we'll work. Actually, it's probably faster for him to just go on foot, if I'm being honest. So we can have him do this. We'll have him go to we'll have him take the glacier. In this game, the North and South Poles have glaciers and tundra. They can just ride the glacier all the way to They can ride the glacier all the way to other landforms like this. So that's probably the best way to do it, if I'm being honest. He'll get there in like 13 turns. So we'll get where he's going eventually. Again, this soldier is just here to maintain civility on the island. We might develop it out later. West Virginia, again, these Antarctic-like fingers, these Antarctic fingers, these land masses are connected to the glacier. So I just took the glacier to discover these landforms. That's why all these caravans are down here traveling to the adjacent glacier so they can get to the other parts of the map. There are quicker ways to do it. I haven't discovered them. So we'll just focus on riding the glaciers to get where we're going for now. It's slow, but it serves the purpose. Instead of just waiting for a bunch of, triremes, which will eventually get there, but just not now. Yeah, again, this soldier will stay here in Ceased, keeping the peace on this island just in case. Yep. They're building a temple here, so eventually the soldier can be moved. But for now, we're going to focus. In fact, the temple will be built at the end of this turn. And let's see, West Virginia will be fine. Again, it's just keeping the peace on this island. Actually, how is this island? So I think it was it's building a trireme. It already has a temple, so it won't need any more. How many pips of food? It can support 7 people. That's fine. So we'll generate a trireme and it'll be fine. So these guys are guarding the border with Japan. The idea is that they're maintaining a zone of control. So ideally, Japan is not supposed to be adjacent to us. So there's a chance they might attack us. So we'll keep our ears to the ground. So I think that's all you really need to know. I guess I can show you the rest of this because these pieces have already moved. So this island here is Japan. We can build back in this direction, let Japan have that half of the island. That's fine. So if we had to build, we would build up this eastern portion of the island, but it's not really. It's not actually. It's near Ann Canal. Okay, so we could build up this portion of the island to connect to Ann Canal more quickly. But we need a ferry. We need a ferry to get to the rest of the island. So that's not amazing. What else do we have? We're exploring. Yeah, this is the rest of Japan. So this might just be one big continent. This one big continental mass. Yeah, this is Japan from here. So this is Japan from Osaka to all the way up here. So that is Japan. This landmass right here. There could be a ocean here, but it's entirely possible that it's just one big continental landmass. So we'll make it work. Japan has a lot of room. They're not going to be an archipelago apparently. They're gonna be continental. They're gonna be like Korea. They're gonna stick to the continent, I suppose. And what else do we have? Canada. So you might want to rename this to reflect that we're east of Japan. So I guess we can be China. So we'll rename this city. So instead of calling it Japaska, we can call this Manchuria, I guess. But the idea is it's a mainland. It's on the mainland near Japan. So I guess we call it Korea. Uh, Kajan. Kajan. So that we know this is basically a mainland city near Japan, which probably means you need to rename Yukon. So this could be Siberia, I suppose. You can rename it accordingly. You can. I can, we can, or in this case, you can. So we know again, we know it's near Japan. Yujan. Enter. Siberiajan. Yakuts. Yeah, Yakuts. Yeah. Yakuza. Yakuza. Yeah, we go to Yakuza. It's probably not appropriate, but the idea is that it's near Japan. So again, you have a little. It's the best way to figure out where these cities are. It's not that close to Japan, but it's far. It's close enough that we're thinking about it. We have so we have to rename Tor. So that could be Core, I guess. The idea is that's on the same landmass as Kajan. Torco. No, we did that wrong. So we'll rename that later if we have to, because it's Korea. So we're good. Not gonna buy that. We'll buy it later. But again, this city is literally on the other side of the map. So if we are America, we're stuck in Portugal, I guess. That's where our capital is. We have several cities here near Japan. That's not terrible. And remember, we can also get to Easton from here. But it just takes a long time to get there. So we're going to need a bunch of ferries to get there. So arguably at some point we're going to have to stop exploring and start actually linking these civilizations together. I mean, it's cool to look for other cities, but at some point you're just kind of wasting time because they're too far away to be of any use. So yeah, all this entire so this African part of the map here is conceivably could be Japan, which is fine. We'll just figure it out. So you have Japaska out here. So this is also equatorial territory as well. And there's supposed to be the Aztecs are on the map too. Who knows where they are? They're probably on the northern part of the map. There's one other civilization too. I want to say there are 4 civilizations in this world, and we've only found one of them. And the Aztecs have built a thing that Japan was trying to build. It's entirely possible Japan's discovered the Aztecs already. I would not be shocked. So I want to say that confirms how our map is supposed to look. We'll figure out what's going on here in the southern half of the map later. That'll be part of a separate video. Okay, so the war's probably going to start. Like I said, we'll do a separate video if that becomes a thing. So we can skip ahead now. Yeah, we'll just keep these guys here. Again, these are the people who are active, so that I know where all of my cities are on the map. They're like they're like regional markers for me, so I know to keep my eye on these parts of the map because I don't want to forget them. If I put a unit to sleep, I'm gonna forget it exists. So I keep these units active, so I know that they're putting in work. I know that they're still on the map. So at the end of every turn, I usually go through every city just to double check, like who's close to building something. We've already made a bunch of adjustments here. Like who's close to building something? Like this temple here, it's ready to go in the next turn. The caravan here, he's 9 shields away. We're only generating 7. So if we can't get to 9 shields, then we can if we can't get to 9 shields, then we'll cut it in half. We'll cut the productivity in half. So we don't have to worry about the shields being generated here. If we need the food, we can do this, or we can just have the city generate revenue for the next couple of turns, which is usually not a bad idea. We're 9 shields away, so this will be done in 2 turns. So in 2 turns, we can just generate a bit more revenue while the productive tiles get this caravan ready. Let's see. Okay, so you can also check what are the brand new projects. Like for instance, if you look here at the brand new courthouse we're building, it's possible that we accidentally started a new courthouse, even though we already built one. So if you see that your shield, if you see that last line there on the right says 0/80, double check to see if you already have a courthouse. We don't have a courthouse. You can also check cities that are close to 0, like Buffalo. Like they've invested 1 turn's worth of production, 8 shields towards building a trireme. Just double check to make sure you need a trireme. Yes, this city is not supporting any. This city is not supporting any military units, only caravans. Okay, fine. So the idea is it's okay for this city to build a trireme. Same for West Virginia. It's okay if this city builds a trireme. They're already supporting 2 units. We can send 1 trireme to Buffalo, I guess. The idea is we want to spread out what these cities are supporting. Easton. It's okay if they build a caravan. See? They have 1 more supply line ready to go. So they can dedicate it to a caravan. That's not a problem. So yeah, it's just a little micromanagement you can do at the end of every turn just to make sure your cities aren't wasting a turn building things that aren't necessary. If you forget. So we'll end the turn shortly. And then I'll do a game save here. So remember, I had that memory card that's empty. If I go to assign slots here, and the PS3, of course, I already dedicated this virtual card to a 4th game save. We stand a Queen Tubman, so we'll end the video shortly. I recorded this commentary with my Plantronics headset, plugged into the quad-core Celeron Windows 10 Education laptop, 1.1 gigahertz of 1.1 gigahertz clock speed, 4 gigs of RAM, I want to say. The camera app is capturing at 30 frames a second in Windows 10. The PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 1 disc is being played on a PlayStation 3 with component video output, RGB, I want to say, into my, I believe it's RGB. It might be YPBPR if I'm not mistaken. Plugged into my Game On Gamestop component to HDMI converter, which is powered through the USB port on my television, but the HDMI output is going to my J5 Create capture device, which is capturing my J5 Create 4K UHD capture device, which has an HDMI pass-through going to my flat screen TV from Best Buy, my Insignia TV, while I capture the footage on my laptop. But again, for a game like this, I could just capture directly to the laptop without using my TV at all. We'll test that out later. I don't want to disassemble this connection. I guess I could take this J5 Create device and replace it with a just an HDMI dongle. That's perfectly fine. Because we're capturing this footage at 720p at 30 frames a second, but it's widescreen. What's the point of that? We can capture it at 768p with a 4:3 resolution, and that makes a lot more sense. We'll do that later. So we built a temple. So I went to the city, and Japan did not attack us. Apparently, we'll wait till the turn ends to see if they attack us. But I think they've decided, they have rolled the dice. They have stroked their Tokugawa beards, I think, and decided, no, we will not attack America today. The joke was what? Was that, should we overthrow the daimyo? And they're like, no, we're not today. Was that the Tokugawa period, something like that? That was what my history professor said back in university. Okay, so this is ceased. So we have caravans. So we don't need this unit anymore. Yep, we're good. Okay, so we'll end the turn by doing some shuffling, and we'll set up the next 50 turns. I think I'm not going to make you sit through these 50 turns. That's kind of what I see. I just want you to see the decisions that I make as I finish this video. Okay, so now that we have the temple and the oracle doubling its effect, up to 4 red citizens can be made content, so we don't need this soldier in ceased anymore. So we can ship him out. Okay. What else we got? We should be building something new, right? No, we're still busy building caravans. That's fine. Okay. So again, we're building caravans so that once the caravans are built, we can deposit 8 caravans. We can have 8 caravans show up in our capital city to build Leonardo's workshop, because the plan is to build Leonardo's workshop next. Let me see. Yeah. Why do we want to do that? Leonardo's workshop is a very useful wonder of the world, which automatically upgrades all of your civilians every time you learn the appropriate scientific wonder. Like, we have a bunch of warriors here on the map. You can't see that one. Like, we have a bunch of warriors like this dude on the map. Once you get the Leonardo's workshop, all these warriors will be upgraded to potentially knights. Because remember, right now, we cannot build knights. So we can't build warriors anymore because warriors are obsolete. So once we get but they're still wandering around the map, with spears and whatever, spears and shields. So if you want to upgrade all those warriors to, say, archers, I believe, or legion, I think they'll be archers. That's what Leonardo's workshop will automatically do for free. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to disband units. You don't have to build new units. It just automatically upgrades them all, which is fantastic. And I think it upgrades all chariots to knights, like that kind of thing. I don't remember does it say what the upgrade is? Yeah, this chart does not show the upgrade. But just know that all of our obsolete soldiers will be replaced by the upgraded versions of those soldiers, of those very same units. And I think that's explained. It has to be explained here in the Civilopedia. Wonders of the World. So if we go to, and that's extremely useful if you want to manage your, if you have a very small army, it's probably not huge. But if you have a large number of units, like triremes, or if you have a large number of warriors, and you want to upgrade them all on that, or settlers, I think you want to upgrade all your settlers to engineers. That's how you do it. Leonardo's workshop. The art in this game is so terrible. What are you going to do? I think it was like SGI crap. Whenever one of your units becomes obsolete because of a new technology you have discovered, it is immediately replaced by an equivalent modern unit. Again, very, very, very useful to have middle of the game. And I believe you need the scientific advancement, you need the civilization advancement called invention for that wonder of the world. So it takes a while to get there. In fact, invention requires, according to this, where is it? Invention. That would be in an obvious place. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time looking for it. There it is. Invention requires literacy and engineering. And engineering requires ironworking and I believe the wheel. Yeah, engineering requires ironworking and the wheel. So just so you know how we get there. So we'll keep these caravans nearby. Again, this is a free nomad here. See the second line from the bottom where it says none? That means this nomad is just going to be used to upgrade existing tiles. It will never be used to build a city because that would be a waste. This is a free soldier, a free settler, a free engineer. That's not taking any resources at all. And we should probably send them up north. I think we might have to send them to our food. We'll see what's up. So let's cycle around the map, see if we can get some of these people moving. Yeah, I didn't show you this earlier. We have to send this ship north so we can capture this stray soldier that's wandering the map. We're gonna have this caravan. I guess we'll have this caravan stay put. Yeah, we'll have this ship gather these two wandering horsemen so that we can have them do some more exploring. But arguably, we should probably send these guys back. We should have these guys. We should have the ship circle back to serve as a ferry, and then we'll have these soldiers wander the map their own way. So we'll have this ship return to the open ocean as a ferry. One hopes. We'll have this caravan explore this part of the map. We'll have this nomad develop the tiles around the city of Core, so that these two cities can also have a road between them. So we'll get to that eventually. It's a long term. That's our Belt and Road project, if you will, along with our ships. So we'll eventually be able to get to our other cities. Yes, because if this place can connect to Buffalo, then we're in luck. We need to rename Buffalo, of course. So what will we call this? Australia? Australia. Well, it's too small. I guess we can call it Indonesia, I guess. We can call it Core something. Because it is close to Korea. So it's between Korea and Japan. China here, Japan here, Okinawa here. Ideally, he would have zoomed in on his hand and that, if you remember Karate Kid. But that's how your boy knew where Okinawa was as a kid, because the way he described it. And I always loved it. That was always a nice touch. I probably shouldn't be, but I am still something of a Mr. Miyagi stan. So stay mad. Let's see. So I guess I'm the Jaden Smith of gamers. So I said it's near Korea and Japan. So I guess we can call it because it's like a tiny spit of land really. So I mean it's technically Tahiti. Busan? No, it's not very helpful either. The idea is I just need to document that it's really close to Korea, but it's not that big. So I guess we can call it Thailand. So we'll call it Laos. Uh, LKJ, I guess. That's not very helpful either. Because it's a different landmass, but it's close to Japan. LKJ. We'll rename it later if we have to. I just want to be able to document where we are. So if that's LKJ, what's West Virginia? We'll figure that out too. West Virginia, take me home. Well, it's near L. It's technically part of the same landmass. So I guess you could rename it accordingly. Guess we can call it Law. Yeah, call it Law. Law Virginia. I don't know. Could be down by law, I guess. Again, I just want to be able to generally figure out where these places are. But it's not close enough to the capital to really make it worth it, but it technically is kind of close to the capital. But I would argue these two cities are closer to Japan than they are to the mainland. But even then, yeah, this place is basically halfway between our cap. Yeah, it's halfway between our capital city. Yeah, these two land masses are basically halfway between our capital city and Japan. So these places could be, yeah, they could be like, they could be like Tahiti. They could be like the Galapagos for all we care. So they're halfway. That's really the problem here. So we'll rename them accordingly. I can't figure out we'll rename them accordingly. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yes, we're still exploring Japan here. So again, if you hang around here too long, you'll eventually sneak attack you. So just make a note accordingly. Yes, we're gonna head over to. We're gonna meet this ship eventually. So let's head over to an ocean. So we'll head over to an ocean tile and board that ship once it gets closer to the coast. And again, this nomad's gonna develop core. That island is gonna develop that corridor, if you will, between those two Korean cities adjacent to Japan. And this knight will eventually intercept this ship, so we'll get around to it. We're not doing anything this turn, so we can sleep. All of the undeveloped tiles here, we'll just park the caravan here. So we know that all these tiles are surrounded by caravans, thus establishing how, at a glance, we want to be able to see how many caravans are surrounding our capital city. So we can just know every caravan has 50 shields that we can dedicate towards building a wonder of the world in that capital city. So we're good? Yeah, where are we going here? Let's see where this trireme can go. Because we're near Japan. But this, yeah, we should probably see if we can get to the other side of this landmass. If we can't, then we'll send it down here. So we'll send this ship closer to Law. This could be our shuttle between Cumberland and Japan. This might be the quickest way to get there now that I think about it. By the way, I tried connecting a wireless mouse to the PS3. It doesn't work. There might be a trick to it, but we'll worry about it later. I'm not recording commentary. There is a unit on this ship, but again, because we're so close to Japan, I don't want to trigger them. Yeah, I don't want to trigger them. So I guess I could dump it here, but the problem is I don't want to dump it there because I might get attacked. Yeah, you can send it over to the border, I suppose. Yeah, like I said, this caravan is going to be how we explore the center of Japan. So we'll see how it goes. They're a bit bigger than I expected. Yeah, where should I send this soldier? The soldier doesn't need to explore anywhere over here, though. If we find another island, we'll dump the soldier on an island to see what he finds. There's got to be at least one other landmass here between us and the L cities. The L islands is what I'll call it. Yeah, it's like we're exploring northern Canada. We gotta find Baffin Island and Ellesmere and all that other crap. It's like all those dead rocks. It's like Skyrim. Oh wait, we got another island over here. There's another landmass north of us that I can't get to because we don't have another ship. But there's another continent up there probably, or again, it's just a spit of land we can see in the distance. Like imagine if you're on like far south western Okinawa, and it's a really clear day in the middle of winter, I guess, and you look to the west, and you can see the backbone of Taiwan like 50 miles in the distance. It's wild. I think what's it called? Not Yonemitsu. Yone. There's an island that begins with the letter Y, I believe. That's in far southwestern Japan, like the end of Japan. And if you go to a cliff, like 50 feet off the ocean, you can look to the west. And again, on a couple of days a year, there's so little moisture in the air blocking you that you can kind of make through the fog in the distance. You can kind of make out the backbone, the mountains in eastern Taiwan. So you can see eastern Taiwan from that particular island in Japan, in the Okinawa prefecture. But again, it's not the mainland of Okinawa. It's one of the far-flung spits of volcano in the middle of the ocean that's 50 miles east of Taiwan. So if you ever want to draw a map from Japan to Taiwan, you would follow all the islands in the archipelago in the Okinawa prefecture, and you'll be eventually that helps you locate Japan. Like I think at some point I figured out that the Marshall Islands are kind of an extension of Japan. They're a ribbon of islands, obviously volcanic, jumping out of the Pacific Ocean. They kind of serve the same purpose. So yeah, for funsies, I might look at the Pacific Ocean map on my phone, just kind of like point out all the dots. Google Maps makes this very easy actually, because Google Maps does a good job of like pointing out, oh yeah, that all these tiny little Pacific islands, yeah, they're all kind of lined up in a row in an interesting way. Which like the Aleutian Islands out, if I'm pronouncing that right. The Aleutian Islands out in Alaska, they extend all the way out to Russia, obviously. It makes the Alaskan time zone really interesting. Let's put it that way. Which is why Japan had a chance of snagging them because if they got far enough east, they could have definitely hopped from the Aleutians out to Anchorage. Okay, so there's a horseman here. What about the city itself? Yakuza. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Well, there's another ship here, so we can shuttle them both around here if we have to. So we'll make it work. So we'll circle around. Actually, let me send off the horseman. Okay, so it's just a dead island. Okay, so you want to leave a soldier here? By the way, are there any? Let me see if there are any ships here. Units. Okay, so no units are supported here. Check on something. He's from Law, so we can probably reassign him here. Kajan, you could reassign him if you needed to, but you already moved. But I would argue that Law doesn't need any more. Let me see what Law can support. Because I would argue we should support him from here. Just kind of, we can still move him from here. We just want Law to support too many units. Yeah, so we can move him out here. So we will no longer have Law support this particular. Law will no longer support this particular unit. So we'll free up an extra spot. Yeah, so we'll have this unit move here. And we'll support them from here. So yeah, basic management. Again, do you want to keep well, I would argue you might have to keep the soldier here because Japan's nearby and they might steal it. I was afraid of that. So we'll keep the soldier here so Japan doesn't steal Yakuza, but it might not even be worth keeping if I'm being honest. So we'll keep the soldier here for now. We'll figure it out. He's from Core, which is good enough, I suppose. I guess the argument is that you want soldiers supported from cities that have neighbors. Because in other words, you don't want this island in the middle of nowhere to support like 3 soldiers. Because remember, every military unit we find in a goody hut is going to be supported by the city if it's near any goody huts. So ideally, soldiers should be supported by cities that have neighbors, because then you can just swap units between cities and have a neighboring city support it instead. So it's not a good idea to have like a bunch of like units being supported in these cities that are hard to get to. You can have one unit supported in that city, sure. So we'll have him settle here. But we'll keep that unit active so that I know the city of Yakuza needs to be protected. And we're just sending these caravans out on the glacier to get to the adjacent cities. But if we can't get there quickly, we'll just send them out on foot to get to the mainland. It would take like at least 20 turns, unfortunately. Yeah, it would take too long to get there. It would take a long time. So if you don't really have a choice, you can just park all of your caravans here. But I would argue they could probably be sent out to explore Korea and Japan. If they could get, they would need to get there by boat. So yeah, we'll work on it. Because remember, there's a boat nearby up here. We have a boat that's coming down to meet them eventually, so it'll work out eventually. Might take about 10 turns. So if they stay put, the boat will eventually pick them up. We can only have two of them though. You can only pick up two of them at a time until we get a caravan. Because I want to say caravans can hold more than two. Not caravans. So we get a caravel. Because I want to say caravels can hold three, which is another reason why the Leonardo's workshop will be useful because we can upgrade all these triremes to caravels. Caravels? I'm hooked on phonics. Resources required. Hmm. Where does it say how many it can hold? It doesn't say how many it can carry. Let me check on that. Caravel Caravel can transport 3 ground units. Okay. So it says right here on the chart. So what about frigates? Can support 2, but they're also soldiers. They're also military units. Caravels are military units too. So frigates can only carry 2. Galleons can support 4. Okay. So they can hold 4 once you get them. But I forget when you upgrade them. We'll get to that. So I'm glad dude didn't try to attack us. So who's on this ship? A settler that needs to be sent over here. So where do we need to send him? We'll figure out where to send, because I think we might need to send him up here to end food, to build another city. We'll figure it out. Of course, we can always just, support. You can always just support these other cities, sure. Because we can have him build a city right here. But I would argue we really need is a whole bunch of triremes. That's really what we need at this point. We need a whole bunch of cities, creating a whole bunch of triremes, I would argue. Because we need to set up this shuttle, because it's having all these islands is driving me up a wall. So we can have a couple more cities here, sure. Yeah, that's close to Japaska. So we can build a few more cities out here. Move the capital out here. What about Easton? Yeah, because there's plenty of room out here. Like there is nothing wrong with building a bunch of cities out here. They're just too far away. So arguably we should be building in this direction and ignoring Japaska until we go communist. So there is that. So this person needs to set up a road, and then we can irrigate the square. And this dude's just stuck till the ship comes to meet him. So yeah, so that's where the ship needs to go. Actually, sorry, he was supposed to go up into the east. He was supposed to go up into the west, but whatever. We'll figure it out. And this guy's supposed to he already built a road. We might build another city out there, but again, I would argue we're better off building a city out there near Ann Canal. So send them out here, and they can build a. You can irrigate that square eventually. So once all the major moves have been made, we can save our game. Yeah, let's send out. The settler needs to go. Yeah, we'll send the settler out here, right? It'll take a while for us to get there. Yeah, the settler needs to irrigate that square up there, I would argue. Just a second. Have the settler irrigate that the pheasant. So what does this square do with I don't think irrigation does anything here. Increases the amount of forest food in the forest from 1 to 3, which is fantastic. Because it's good to have 4 squares that can keep you fed. Forest. Result of irrigation, it transforms it to plains. Okay. What if you do? So for a pheasant, if you irrigate a pheasant, it becomes a buffalo. So a pheasant is 3-2 on food and shields. A buffalo is 1-3. So if you prefer, that's what I mean. You're getting more shields from the grassland in that case. And if you mine a buffalo, it becomes a pheasant, which is hilarious. But if you can't mine a pheasant, but you can mine a buffalo. We'll worry about that later. For now, we'll keep the pheasant as is. We're not going to try and do any engineering along those lines. Okay, so once all of our major moves have been made, yeah, Easton. It'll take him a while to get there. Have him go to the glacier. He'll take the glacier, then head over to the mainland that way. Okay, so if we made all of our major moves, you've made all of our major moves. Okay, this guy's just going to develop land. So send him out to the other coast, and we'll have him meet the ship on the other side. Yeah, I don't think we need him for anything else for now. Eventually, we'll need him to develop the 4 squares, but right now 4 squares don't really do anything. Okay, so we'll save the game here. We'll end the video shortly. It's a 2-hour video, dog. Look, I did a 3-hour video of Phantasy Stars, so don't be mad or stay mad, I guess. I did a Phantasy Star 2 video that was 3 hours long, and I'd say like half of it was me rewinding, because it was driving me nuts. It's driving me up the freaking wall, dude. So we're overriding that. Again, if you're going to play this game and you're not using an emulator, I guess you could play this game on a PS3 because, again, the ability to play with all of these virtual memory cards makes it far more manageable than going to the store and buying a bunch of memory cards or shuffling a whole bunch of memory cards in and out of your PlayStation 1. I mean, having to commit like an entire memory card to like Civilization 2 and like a couple of other game saves is terrible. So imagine having to. I mean, of course, you probably can't. You can't save scum the way your boy does. Playing on a PlayStation 3 makes this game way more manageable because you have more ability. It's cheaper. Memory's cheap on a PlayStation 3. So using the hard drive for all these tiny little game saves, it's fantastic. It's like I think this is a 200 gigabyte. No, sorry. This would be like it's either a 40 gigabyte hard drive or an 80 gigabyte hard drive. I haven't checked. I'm installing games on it. And I'm putting some videos on it, but yeah, I'm just installing crap. I guess we'll end the video shortly. We'll just see if they pick a war with us. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so yeah, that caravan just kind of explores the entire road network just to kind of see what's up. Yeah, right here. So we just like investigate the entire road network. It's cool. Just follow all the roads, see where it goes. You see, you're basically doing intel. So at this point in the game, a caravan can serve as an explorer that can actually investigate other civilizations. So that's fine. Yeah, we'll keep this guy active, like I said. He'll just wait. He's waiting for the ship. That's what I mean. That's why you keep these units active, so you know they're still out there, and you know you still need to move them around on the map. And again, we'll always end the turn. We'll also end the turn by looking at our city list to see if we missed anything obvious. Like this caravan right here. It will take them 2 turns to build the caravan. So can we get to 10? I don't think we can. We can get to 9. I don't know if we can get to 10. And there's no unit here on the map that generates more shields. So it's going to take 2 turns no matter what. Unless you're doing a we love the city thing. I want to say if there are more happy citizens than if there are more light blue happy citizens than dark blue content citizens, then you get the we love the ruler, which makes your city more productive. So if we did this, that creates the happy citizen. That makes the we love the. So let's try this. Do we have a food tile? Okay, so we want to sacrifice food, then we'll get extra productivity from that shield and extra trade for the length of that turn. Okay, so we can try that. We don't need to grow, we just need to build something more quickly. So we'll see if that works. I can't promise you anything, but that might work. This is a get good video for Civilization 2. I'm not telling you how to play. I'm not telling you how to win. I'm just telling you how to play. So that if there are, let me be more specific. I'm not teaching you how to optimize a speed run. I'm just teaching you how to make this game manageable in ways that you can learn to play yourself. These are the kinds of videos I like doing because it's like I'm not goofing on a game for being terrible. I'm not trying to speed run, but I'm not telling people, oh yeah, this is the way you're supposed to play and don't play it. No, I'm giving you some flexibility here in terms of strategies I've discovered that might help you develop your own play style if you wish, which to me is more useful than just saying, oh yeah, just make a beeline for Adam Smith. Just make a beeline for the Adam Smith Trading Company and just end the conversation there. Because you're not teaching people how to interact. You're not teaching people how to engage with the game. You're just telling them to make a beeline for one particular strategy, and that's the only way you should be playing. And oh, by the way, you should be like steamrolling all of your neighbors and conquering them all. I'm like, I don't play the game that way. I like playing this game not to conquer the world. I might do that on a lower difficulty level. I might do that. But for now, I'm kind of developing newer strategies so that eventually, yeah, I'll eventually try a genocide run, I guess. But for now, I prefer like the pacifist run where I'm just kind of like trading with other civilizations. I'm containing them by limiting where they're allowed to expand, but I usually just, I set up a massive, I discover islands before everyone else. No one wants them. I just kind of trade with them. You can have this continent is yours. I will stay over here and conquer everything else you haven't seen yet. I will conquer America before you ever find it on the map. Basically, I will conquer Antarctica before you even know it exists. I will conquer Atlantis before you ever raise it, before you ever discover it. So that kind of thing. We've conquered Atlantis, huh? Exactly. Anyway, why am I here? Yeah, we got 9 shields here. So we'll cut this into thirds, or we can cut it in half, I guess. So we'll do a more efficient run of this. Because we're doing a caravan, so you might want to... We can't get this in one turn. We can cut it in 2. So we can convert like, this is a 3-2. Well, that's not great, but it does the job. As you can see, we're getting 3-2 out of this peasant. Can we get to 9? We can get to 9, actually. Watch this. If we're willing to go hungry, we can get to 9. Maybe we can do this. I guess we got to 9. So we did it, fam. So we got the surplus. We got to 9. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot. There's another tax. There's another tax, dude. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so so this gets us to 10. We don't need that. We're generating waste, if you can believe that. So we'll generate some more money instead. So we only need 9, not 10. Okay, so that's fine. Change. No, not change. I want to say caravan's the most expensive thing we can learn right now. We'll double check that later. So we don't need the food. Can we do trade? Yeah, we can. So that'll get us to 9. That's enough food for us. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so we converted that one free citizen to a tax collector, so we can generate more trade. But we're gonna build the dye caravan at the end of this turn. So you see the third line up where it says supplies. The dye caravan is the one caravan we can make. That's not a food supply truck. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We already did that, so we're fine. Cumberland. So we'll cut this. I don't think we can cut this back. We only need 3. We only need 3 shields. I can't cut this back, can I? I can actually. Yeah, I don't need this surplus. So you only need 3. You might want to keep that. That's a lot of food we're gonna need. We can afford to go hungry for 1 turn. I love the logic. Yeah, we can go hungry for 1 turn. We're not screwed. So we did that. So 3, right? Yeah, 3. That's perfect. Okay, so we're done. So we'll build the caravan on the very next turn in Cumberland. That's going to be enough for us to build the wonder of the world. Okay, we're 9 away. Can we get to 9? Again, the micromanagement. We can get to 9. Whoops. Oh, that's right. We have an extra dude. Okay, that gets us to 9. Wait, I thought we already did this. Yeah, we are at 9. Okay, already did this one. Sorry, already did this one. Okay, so we're done. Can we get to 10? That's right. That's right. We're doing the we love the. Actually, I don't think getting us to we love will get us to 10. If I'm being honest. Getting us to we love doesn't count for this turn. I think it counts for the next turn. Well, we're gonna find out, aren't we? We're gonna find out. So whoopsie. So we'll have to reload this whole game save. Okay, so like I said, we'll play more of this game later. We always play some of it. We're not gonna do an entire playthrough, but we'll deal with this. Civilization 2, video number 3 is done. 2 hours.